Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'll be
Thank
honest
you
too,
so
this
much
is
for having this and setting these up. I think it's so wonderful that Rise Together is doing this. It's excellent. Thanks for having me.
well, thank you so much. And I'll be honest, this is the first time we've had a flawless start to the Instagram live, so I'm feeling great. Feeling great already. So,
Small wins, they add up
yes,
for sure.
absolutely. Well, for those who don't know, I am Rochelle. I am with Rise Together. And do you want to go Jessica or Jess? I wasn't sure.
Whichever, I'm good with either, Jess or Jessica.
Perfect. Okay. I'm here with Jessica Lall, candidate for mayor of Los Angeles. So, Jessica, I'll hand it over to you soon, but just to jump off for people who haven't been watching these or don't know us, Rise Together was started because we know that Los Angeles is in crisis, but that it doesn't have to be this way. If Angelinos come together, it's in the name, we can create lasting and positive change. And a huge part of that is electing people who share our values for making Los Angeles a better place. And 2022 is a really special time to do that in ways that I'll get into more later. But we're just wanting to provide a space for candidates to share about their priorities and for our community to get to know candidates. So, just to be clear, this isn't part of our endorsement process or an indication of our support for or opposition to any candidates, just a chance for us to get to know each other. So, with that, I always start these interviews in the same way, which is asking, what does the mayor do and how does that affect our lives?
The mayor is the chief executive officer, I think, for the city of Los Angeles. And the mayor of the second largest city in America, the creative capital of the world, really has the unique opportunity to set a higher standard, a higher bar, to rally people together, to leverage the expertise and innovation that we have in our backyard to solve the problems and multiple crises that we are currently facing today. I think there is huge power that the mayor has in appointment of general managers and commissioners to oversee the implementation of the mayor's vision. But more importantly, I think we need to restore integrity, have a culture change at City Hall. We need to be focused on doing the jobs at hand. As you mentioned, the multiple crises we face, from housing affordability, crime, homelessness is obviously front and center in everyone's mind. And we know all of these problems are connected. And I love the mission of Rise Together because I do believe real Angelinos are demanding a change, and the status quo has failed us. And I think stepping up together, but in a positive, vision forward way, we can take back our city and create a place that we know can reach its full potential for the benefit of its citizens.
Amazing. Well, awesome. I definitely want to dive into some of that stuff a little later on. But for now, I would love to hear about you and why you decided to run for mayor.
Yeah, it's a big leap. I have not ever run for public office before, but I'm currently the president and CEO of the Central City Association. We represent over 300 large and small businesses, nonprofits across the city, and do advocacy work in the areas, many of which we're talking about: homelessness, housing, sustainability, economic development. I served as executive director for a business improvement district for 5 years prior to that, and worked in the mayor's office prior to that. So I bring over a decade's experience tackling these issues from the front lines, building coalitions, problem solving, and just being action oriented. I am the proud mom of an almost 2-year-old little daughter, Aria. You may hear her crying in the next room. Apologies, she's having her dinner. And it's really transformed my thinking in terms of being bolder and braver, stepping up to make sure that she has a city and all future generations to live in, to make sure that we have a democracy in our country and a planet. That's kind of an important thing too that we have to work to preserve. I am the daughter of my father's an immigrant from India. He came to the U.S. when he was 21. My mother was born in Oklahoma and moved around a lot as a as a military brat. And I had the fortune of moving around a lot globally, internationally, but LA's been my home. I went to USC, I served as student body president, and I've really just found this city to be the most important sort of endeavor for me professionally. So it was a privilege to be able to take this jump, and we're motivated and are really excited about the people that are coming into the process in this campaign.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, I want to kind of dive into some of the issues you talked about specifically. Like, we know in 2022, especially for folks who aren't super familiar with this election cycle, um, we're going to have hundreds of thousands of new voters in a municipal election in 2022 because it's at the same time as federal and state elections. However, it's not guaranteed that everybody who shows up to the polls is going to continue voting down ballot for, the mayor, the city councilor, city attorney, controller, etc. Um, so I think that's because they don't think their vote matters on very tangible everyday issues like homelessness, like affordability, and like crime. So I'd love to hear from you how you would use the role as mayor to care for the unhoused and to make our city a place where you can actually afford to live and it's safe to live.
Yeah, look, the mayor's race, the mayor, please vote because the mayor of the cities that we exist in really, I believe substantive change starts at the local level. And that's why mayors are so important across cities. And in the city of Los Angeles, I know people are disheartened, they're jaded, they're sick of the corruption, they're sick of taxing themselves out of compassion and not understanding why problems are only getting worse. So what I want to say is that as mayor, I'm running to be mayor of Los Angeles. I'm not running as to use this as a stepping stone to some other position. As part of our announcement, we put out a very specific 7-point action plan around homelessness. In my day job, I've worked very much to support new housing options to increase affordability. I want my daughter to be able to buy a home here and live here. We all have friends that are leaving the city because they can't afford it. And if they can, they don't feel safe, or they can't maintain a job with dignity and a wage. I think we are the richest city when you think about all of our assets, but when you look at it, we're actually the poorest in terms of cost of living to wages. So we have a lot of work to do. And I think, what's happened is we've had career politicians who have been given a chance. Unfortunately, they have not delivered. And I come into this with the objective of fulfilling the promises that I've made. And if I put myself out of a job in 4 or 8 years, but we've done what we've committed to do, then so be it. That's a success. I think, unfortunately, we've lacked the focus and commitment to make the tough decisions that we know need to happen in order to get things done. And I'm personally sick of being asked the question, well, the mayor doesn't really have that much power, it doesn't really matter. That is a cop-out. The mayor of the second largest city in America can get things done, and it takes bringing people together, working together to solve problems, but we can do it, and we will.
Awesome. Well, that actually leads perfectly into my next question, which is, as you said, the mayor is not the only person creating policy and implementing policy in the city. Specifically, the city council has a lot of authority. However, we have seen several indictments in the city council, and it's just encouraged a complete distrust of the government as a whole.
Yep.
And as you were saying, Angelenos literally voted to tax themselves to care for the unhoused, and yet there are more people on the streets. So this is kind of a twofold question. One, as mayor, how would you lead the city in transparency and accountability to ensure that we don't end up with more corruption? And then also, how would you work with the city council to make sure that your priorities are accomplished?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think the first part of leadership, and I know this having run 2 organizations where we represent diverse constituents, is you have to show up and you have to communicate and you have to be willing to be held accountable. So as mayor, you will see me out in the communities. You will see me on all types of media talking directly to constituents. But we also have to be working together. And that means sitting people down, bringing people in, leveraging people with expertise and who have different viewpoints. The mayor's job is to convene, facilitate, leverage and synthesize information, come up with a plan, and then hold the whole entire city, the departments, the general managers, to executing on that plan. And if people are not on board, then they can go find a job elsewhere. I think we really lack that kind of rigorous management and leadership skills. And you're right, we have to work with other elected officials, whether that's the city attorney, the controller, the city council members. They've also been elected by constituents. But I think the first part is leadership. It's setting a strategy. It's utilizing the power of the bully pulpit and being relentless about that. And it's also culture. I think any of us who work somewhere know that if things are not managed and overseen and if problems are not addressed, corruption flourishes. And we have to be willing to address these things head on. And as mayor, I would be committing again to being active and in conversation rigorously with constituents. As part of our homelessness plan, we've committed to at least giving an update monthly directly to Angelenos about here's the plan, here's where we stand, here are the challenges we're facing, and here's how we plan on overcoming them. And we need you all to be a part of the solution. And so that's how I've led in the organizations that I've run. And that's what I would hope to be able to take to scale, bring people into the process. So City Hall isn't this siloed concrete building that people don't feel is accountable or working for them.
Amazing. No, that's so important that people really understand what is happening with their government. And in that same vein, kind of, obviously, you are not part of the county government, but you will have to work as mayor with the county government. And I think there has been a ton of confusion about, specifically in COVID-19, about what the county's responsibilities are, what the cities are, and it just caused a lot of confusion where in a time where clear communication was absolutely critical. So how would you work with the county and how would you make sure that constituents are fully aware, especially, unfortunately, I don't think that COVID is probably going anywhere anytime soon.
No.
So how would you ensure that your constituents knew what was going on and also work with the county to make sure you are presenting one clear message and everybody knows whose responsibilities are whose?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I mean, in my role running CCA, we've dealt with so many small business owners who have been put out of business. Their whole life's work have evaporated, and in large part because they've gotten such mixed messages from government. Government is here to serve. And I think the lack, again, of communication, it sounds very basic, but we have to be consulting and working with, in this instance, different industries to make sure that rules and requirements are actually based in reality, based in the reality of a small business owner, a larger business. And so what I would commit to doing, again, I think it's being out there, it's communicating, it's helping direct and educate people on, hey, this is the city's role. Here's where the county, this is who at the county that you need to be working with. I'm a very collaborative person. I think you have to be able to work with people, but you also have to be able to make tough decisions and hold accountable individuals. But I think one of the ideas that we've also proposed is revisiting our structures, right? Does the city, we're overdue charter reform. Is the city structured in a way that makes sense to meet the demands of the 21st century? One of the things that we've proposed doing is creating the city's own public health department, because as you mentioned, we saw in COVID just how vital it is. And when we look at our unhoused and our homeless issues and our mental health issues that people are suffering, we have as a city no control over any of these. And it to me doesn't make sense structurally. So I think we have to look globally at the bigger structures at play, maybe an independent charter reform. We're not going to see people in power limiting their own power. That is against human nature. We also need to look at creating things like our own public health department, but also being in communication and collaborative as we try to address these many challenges that we face.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. We're pretty much out of time. So I just so appreciate you answering all these questions, sharing a little bit about your vision for Los Angeles. Before I say goodbye, I would love if you could tell people, A, if you have anything that we didn't get to talk about that you quickly want to address, go for it. But also, where can people find you?
Yes, please. Okay, I just want to say thank you, Rise Together, for doing. I love the mission of this organization. You're bringing people, you're activating and empowering. So important. I would be honored to have your support, the viewers. You can learn more about us at jessicalallformayor.com. Please follow us, Just for LA, on social media and Twitter, Instagram. We've got all the platforms. And again, I just want to say directly, I'm one of you. My home has been broken into and robbed twice here on the west side. We sleep with baseball bats next to our bed. It's unsustainable what the path that we're going down, and we know we can do better. And it's just going to take us all coming together, and it's going to take a different kind of leadership and focus to actually get these things done and take care of people the way that we know we're able to. So thanks for tuning in and learning more about myself and the campaign, and would love to get anyone involved who's interested in learning more.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to the folks who are on live. If you just caught part of this or want to send it along, we will have it here on Instagram, and it will go on our YouTube channel where you can find all of our interviews. So thank you so much again, Jessica, for
Thank you
taking the
so much.
time.
I
And
appreciate
thank
you
you
having
everybody
me.
for being on. Of
Okay,
course.
be in
Bye.
touch. Bye.